This video is going to show you how to use an APA style guide to create and format your in-text citations. For this video, we're going to refer to the style guide at Purdue University's online writing lab. This is also known as the Purdue OWL or the OWL at Purdue. So here I'm at the OWL Purdue website, getting ready to go to create my in-text citations. Let's say that for my research paper in this class, I'm writing my informative paper on how to save money on gas. And I have 3 sources. So at this point, I would have already done all of my research, identified my sources, taken my notes, organized my paper. Now I'm drafting. And while I'm drafting, I want to put my in-text citations in there so that I don't miss any and I don't accidentally plagiarize. So I have 3 sources here. And let's say that the first source that I came from, that I'm paraphrasing from, is from this source. This is a Learn Library source. Okay, so this source, what I need to know about my source before I can use the style guide is I basically need to know how many authors what type of source is it, how many authors does it have, is the author named, and is it using pages or paragraph numbers if I'm quoting. So this is a source it's an article, it has one author, here's my author's name, John Oliva, and it does not have page numbers, it has paragraph numbers. Okay, so that's what I need to know to identify how to use the guide. So here, I'm at the Purdue OWL's website, and we're going to go down to this menu. And if I look at this menu, there's a lot of information. There's a section on general writing, there's a section on avoiding plagiarism. These are probably very helpful resources in here that you might want to look at, but today we're going to focus on the section on research and citation. There are also a lot of resources in here about how to do research that you might want to look at, but for this video, we're going to focus on APA style. And then APA style also has some other resources, but I'm going to look at the formatting and style guide because that's where it's going to tell me how to format my sources. Okay. So in order for me to create my citation to make sure I did it correctly, this is an in-text citation, so I'm going to go to in-text citations, authors. And here, what this guide does is it tells me how to write the citation depending on what type of source I have. So as you can see, there are lots of options. There's a work by one author, a work by 2 authors, a work by 3 or more authors, an unknown author, an organization is an author, what to do if you're citing 2 sources at the same time. There's a whole lot of ways to go, of different things that you can cite. So that is why you start with, what type of source do I have? Well, I have an article by one author, so that's going to be just like this, a work by one author. So it tells you what it's going to look at. You basically need the author's last name and the date. And then this is what it will look like. So if you are setting up your paraphrase, in my example, by saying that John Oliva said this, and then I summarize it all, okay, I would set up my in-text citation like this one. Okay. And so I would have to then type that out in my paper. So I'm going to go back to my source and I'm going to see what the information is that I need. So I need the author's name and the date. So my source here's my author, John Oliva, and here's my date, 2022. So if I wanted to set up my paraphrase by starting with where I got the information, I would say, according to Oliva, and then in parentheses, the date, followed by a comma, and then exactly what it is I'm paraphrasing. Alternatively, I can type my entire paraphrase first and then just give credit to the author at the end. So if I do that, it's going to look like the second citation. So I would type my entire paraphrase and then follow this structure in parentheses to give credit to my author. So with my source, that would look like this. I'd have my entire paraphrase here. And then before I complete my sentence, I would have the author's name, colon, the date, close my parentheses, and then put my period at the end. And that's an in-text citation. That's all you need. So now let's move on to my second source. So my second source is I have a web article from the Canadian government. And this source, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom to see if there's any author, and there's not. So this is a source where it's an organization as an author, and that organization is the Government of Canada. And the date was all the way at the bottom. It was 2021. So now I'm going to look at my style guide, and I'm going to scroll down until I can find an organization as an author. And so here it tells me I'm going to set up my citation the same way, but I'm going to use the organization instead of an author's name. So my organization was Government of Canada, and my date was 2021. So those citations would look like this. I could either say, according to the Government of Canada, and then put my date in parentheses, comma, and then do my paraphrase. Or I could just put my paraphrase first and then stick my citation at the end with a parenthesis, the Government of Canada, and then the date, comma, date, 2021, close my parentheses, and put a period. So that's how I'm now using the style guide to figure out how to cite that source that didn't have an author. And then my third source is a TED Talk. Okay, so now I need to look at this as a video, but I still need the same information. So I have a video, I have an author, its name is James Brew, it's right here in the title of the video, and then I also have a date, which was from 2010. Okay, so now I'm going to look at, gosh, does the APA Style Guide say what to do with a video in terms of in-text citations? And it does. There is electronic sources. So if possible, cite an electronic document the same as any other document by using the author date style. So that's going to look the exact same way. Okay, so again, my author's last name was Brew and my year was 2021. So I'm just going to type my citation that way. So I can either say, per Brew 2010, or I can give my entire paraphrase first and at the end give credit to Brew by putting his name and the publication date in the parentheses. Okay, so that is how you write an in-text citation, but the goal here is to make sure that you understand that what you're doing with the style guide is you're identifying what type of source you have, and then you're using the style guide to figure out how to write the citation based on the type of source that you have, because they will look slightly different depending on how many authors you have and how many sources you're citing at once.